Hello to my party people out there in Radio Land. Welcome to this week's transmission. Seems like I always got some issues with sound, but I think Mercury is retrograde. So we're going to roll with it yet again. Today's topic is kids. Don't feel sorry for kids. So I know when you initially think about that, it kind of might be a little off-putting. How could a person say that as an adult we should never feel sorry for kids? Well, first of all, you shouldn't really feel sorry for anybody ever in the first place. And I believe I spoke about this in the transmission probably months ago, or maybe I wrote about it, I don't know. But when you feel sorry for somebody, you are essentially saying that they aren't afforded the same universal or spiritual protection that you are, right? And I don't mean this in a way of feeling empathy for a person, right? You're supposed to empathize and even sympathize to an extent, but to just say, oh, I feel sorry for a person means that it implies that there is something wrong with them or their situation, or it puts them in a victim mentality, right? It victimizes them to a point to where it makes it seem as though they themselves are not capable of rising above their circumstance or whatever the situation may be, wanted or unwanted. It also diminishes the fact that on some level we choose our obstacles in life, right? So conscious or subconscious, maybe it was something that you had to go through, or something, maybe it was just a silly quote unquote mistake, because there's no such thing as those as I spoke about before, but you were able to learn as a result, right? So you can't really lose. That's when you say that you feel sorry for a person, that conjures up all of those things, right? It also, when you pity somebody, it's really unproductive. Just feeling pity is almost an empty emotion, because it's like, to just pity somebody, there's no action behind it. There's no initiative behind that word. It's just a hollow feeling that you feel that does not help you or the person, right? It's like eating junk food. In a sense, probably even worse than that, right? It's like eating chalk or something. You're like, okay, what was the point of that? Because you don't even get any gratification from it. It just makes you feel worse because you feel helpless, right? If you are even in a position to have to pity somebody in the first place, you are already putting yourself in a situation to where you feel helpless because you pity them, right? I pity people, right? Because it means you can't do anything on some level. Whether you can or you can't, you've already told yourself psychologically that you can't do anything. That's why you feel pity, right? As opposed to I feel inspired, I feel empowered to help them. On the other end of that is, on the other end of your pity is, again, they become a victim. They begin to believe that their situation is somehow unjust or unwarranted, or it wasn't created by themselves. When we know that everything happens for a reason. So pity, it does nobody any good. I pity you. I feel horrible, right? There's nothing I can do. Subconsciously, this is a conversation that's happening. And then the person who is on the receiving, quote unquote, air quotes are back. We're back, baby. On the receiving end of said pity is, they're just empty. It's like, okay, you pity me, but now what? Now what do I do? But just sit here and be pitiful. Seriously, though, like, that's the only solution to that. It's a dead end street, right? So all of that connects with my original point of not feeling sorry for kids, is because it's so easy for us to see all this stuff that's going on TV, on the news, in the media. I don't even watch the news, and yet and still, you are bombarded with negative, quote unquote, information or situations that are unfortunate, that are happening to people, especially like little kids. And it's so easy for us to have a knee-jerk reaction and be like, oh man, I feel so sorry for those kids. Not realizing that kids are spiritual beings. They are even closer to the divine creator than any adult could ever be, right? Just by virtue of being a child, of having not been in this 3D incarnation, in this physical manifestation for as long as an adult has, right? They're untamed. Their souls are more untamed, I say that, but they are untainted. Because if you notice, as people get older and older, that's when they start to lose hope, right? They become bitter. Like they say, oh, I'm a bitter old man, right? There's a reason why they say old. There's a reason why, that phrase is more catchy and more widely used. You don't hear people really say, oh, you're a bitter young man. No. And if you are, it's a shock. But you're like, oh, he's just a bitter old man, right? And you just kind of wave them off like, yeah. Right? It comes with territory, because it's assumed that if you have lived long enough, you have been in this world, for long enough, then naturally you have become bitter, right? Because you have seen all the injustices and the wrongs that occur in the world on a day-to-day basis, which is enough to make anybody bitter. So with little kids, right, they haven't been here as long. They still have a sense of wonder and magic and possibility and hope, right? It's very rare to find a bitter child unless something has been done to them, unless they've been abused in some form. Kids, because they are so close to themselves and their true essence, right? They haven't been in this life long enough. They're more aware of the fact that obstacles have a purpose and that they're temporary. So they get that life is a game. That's why kids usually treat life as a game. Even if they get hurt, even if they fall down while running, you don't ever hear of a kid be like, man, I fell when I was 5 and I just never ran again, right? It's a joke to them. Like, they do all of these things that adults would consider to be dangerous just for the sake of fun, just because they know that life is a game and life is meant to be lived. As far as my own childhood, even when I reflect back on difficult circumstances and situations and the multitude of obstacles that I had to overcome myself, many of which, led people to feel sorry for me, quote unquote, and, all of these things, and like health issues. And it's kind of like, I forgot, like, dang, I forgot that even happened. Like, I was just living my life. But people, will say something, older relatives, and I'd be like, oh shoot, I guess that did happen, huh? And I just think back now as an adult and as the person who went through those situations, I still am like, I created that, I caused that, on some level. Now, no kid says I want to be sick, but I can look back in retrospect as an adult today and say with absolute certainty that my higher self created those obstacles so that I could overcome them, so that I can show the people around me that they could be overcome, so that I could be a better person, so that I could be stronger, so that I could push myself to the limit, so that I could even learn my limit and learn my true power and learn the potential behind, my gifts, right? Like I said in a previous transmission, life is predictable. The people who rise the highest in the end are always the people who come from the most extreme circumstances, right? It's like Maya Angelou and, Gabby Douglas. It's like, I was born dead. I was fighting for my life and I was sick as a kid and, things like this. I was abused for this many years. And then those people end up doing great things, like phenomenal things. So they go from one end of the spectrum to the other. They have worse than normal or average, quote unquote, whatever that means, childhoods or beginnings, but their endings are also more extravagant, more brilliant, more jaw-dropping than the average person, right? They don't really deal in mediocrity. They don't really dabble in lukewarm. They come from cold water and then they hot, right? So that is because those quote-unquote negative or unfortunate circumstances in the beginning of their paths, of their journeys, set them up for greatness. And by overcoming those, they were able to really reach their true potential. So again, things make sense now in retrospect in terms of just even my own childhood. So all of this is to say, to sprinkle a little bit of hope, because I know there's a lot of things going on and it's involving kids, and it's unfortunate to hear as an adult. But this is just a little slither of hope and just a spiritual perspective of things, and just knowing that kids are okay. They fine. They all right. They are well protected by the universe, by God, by their higher selves. They're little spiritual beings, little balls of positive energy. So you ain't got to worry about the kids. It's the adults that you should be worried about, if you want to worry about somebody at all, which, again, you shouldn't. So that's all I got to say. Thank you for listening. Have a great week. Love, live, light, laughter. Bye.